Hello, UCA Bears. This is Christopher Cole. I'm on the Bear 91.3 KUCA Conway, and it's time for the annual edition of the Big Toast Sports Show. Just love to give you guys, and just to start off our little session, I think we should start off with Michael Jackson's "Wanna Be Starting Something." So here's a quick 30-second intro to my show.
Oh, yeah, I'll be running back in after.
I was supposed to do the song and then, but then you get on the radio and just, I know, but I'm just saying, like, you just get to thinking. You wanna be starting something. Said you wanna be something. Should I just intro like by singing along with it, and then introduce it that way? Yeah.
I just
and then pretend like that I wasn't on air. Like, oh, sorry, I didn't know we were on air. Should I do that? Probably
I don't
not.
know if you can play and talk at the same time.
I don't think I can. And plus, I think most of my viewers are watching this and not listening to this. So. Someone's always trying to start my baby crying. Talking squealing lying, saying you just want to be starting something that you want to be. But you got to be.
Has it been 30 seconds?
Oh, it's been like a minute. You got to be starting something by Michael Jackson, and that's the way that we're going to start our show. Don't you just want to be starting something at the Bear 91.3 KUCA Conway? And in fact, let's start the Big Toast Sports Show with just a brief overview of what's going to be happening. In about 20 minutes, we're going to switch over to the basketball game, which starts at 2:40, and so my show is going to be a little bit shortened today, which is all right, because I really only had like one thing planned, and that was the baseball preview. I felt a little bit rushed because, to be completely honest with you guys, I'm not 100% aware about how good some of the teams in the National League are. I just don't pay attention much. I'm a big Angels fan, so that kind of limits my ability. And I just, baseball is so hard to follow all the time because there's 162 games per team, and quite honestly, a team can lose 5 games in a row, and it's not really that big of a difference in the long run. So it's difficult for me to keep up with the National League teams, but whatever, I think I'll still run through them pretty quickly, give my predictions for the baseball season, and that's what we're going to do on this edition of the Big Toast Sports Show. So, I think let's start off our little docket with talking about the National League first, just to get what I, not that I don't care about, but to get it mostly just out of the way. So first, let's talk about the West Division and what I think about the NL West, what's going to happen with these teams. Now, last year, as Sporting News puts it, Colorado went 74-88, San Francisco 76-86, San Diego the same record as San Francisco, at Arizona 81-81, and the Dodgers at 92-70. One of the greatest things I think about baseball, at least in predicting them, is that baseball, it relatively doesn't change year to year. Of course, there's exceptions like the Tampa Bay Rays of 2007 and the Boston Red Sox of last year and the Boston Red Sox of the year before, crashing and then becoming good. But in general, baseball is pretty steady. The thing about it is I think the most important statistic in baseball, at least especially for individual players, is the WAR statistic, which is the wins above replacement. If you've got a high WAR, then that's pretty good. The thing about that statistic is that it kind of diminishes the value of the individual player. And what I mean by that is, I think Mike Trout for the Angels, I don't know if he has the best WAR in the league, and I don't even know exactly what he has, but I'm pretty sure he's in at least the top 5 in WAR percentages in the league, and I think that his WAR is about like 6.14 or something along those lines, which means that when he plays, the Angels are 6 games better than they would be, which in baseball is, it's somewhat of a big deal. In football, if there was a 6 wins above replacement, then you need to pay your entire franchise to get that guy, because 6 wins in football is a heck of a difference in getting into the playoffs or not. But in baseball, you can lose 5 games. As I said earlier, you can lose 5 games in a row and then come back and win the next, like 7 and be okay. Or, you can go through a bad stretch, and I think teams do that throughout the entire season. But as long as short of it, like even, buying a player for $150 million over 7 years isn't going to change that much for your team immediately. Like, your team's not going to be a World Series contender just because this guy is in the lineup if you're, I mean, you can't just become a World Series contender if you're at the bottom of the league in baseball. Basically, you can if you're a playoff team and you pay for somebody, that's really good, then you can, have a better shot at winning the World Series and you're getting through the playoffs in particular. I think that's when those big name players that get paid a ton of money, I think that's when their value comes in. But if you're like a playoff team or non-playoff team that's just trying to get into the playoffs, sure, those 6 wins from a guy like Mike Trout, which, first of all, those guys are extremely rare. Those guys are extremely rare, so it's not like there's just a ton of them out there that any individual team can get. And second of all, not every team could pay $150 million to get a guy like Mike Trout or Michael Cabrera or Miguel Cabrera or Buster Posey. But certainly, it's difficult for teams to get to that level. I lost my train of thought there for 1 second, but anyway, we'll just say that it's pretty easy to predict baseball on a year-to-year thing. And so surprise, surprise, my team, my figures, especially for the National League, which I'm not so emotionally invested in, are going to be very similar to the way they were last year. So that's just a fair warning to all my listeners on my YouTube channel, which is Unstoppable Force 56. If that's my personal YouTube channel. If you go to my Facebook page, I've got some links to watch the Big Toe Sports Show afterwards on my YouTube account. And that's mostly for my relatives in Oregon and Montana, or not Montana, in Missouri, and I guess my friends in Montana as well, who don't have the opportunity to just turn on to KUCA. But if you're a listener in the local Conway area and you just feel like you want to get more of the show, or if you're one of my good buddies and have just happened to miss my show and you want to watch it again, go ahead and go to The Unstoppable Force, or just go to Christopher Cole on YouTube, or just go to Christopher Cole on Facebook, and you'll find those things. So to all my YouTube listeners, thank you for listening. I think I'm specifically talking to Grandma and Grandpa and Mom and Dad. So thank you guys for everything that you're doing. So anyway, let's get to the point of the broadcast. I've only got 15 minutes left here, and I got to finish with Baba Ye too, and I got to go through the entire National League in a little bit of time. So let's just hurry it through. Let's talk about the Colorado Rockies. This team that went 76, 74, and 86. Again, no big free agent signings, nothing like really substantial. I think they've got a decent farm system. Their pitching is going to carry them again, but I wouldn't be surprised if I could see them winning 80 games this year, but nothing much more than that. San Francisco was a real surprise from last year. They crashed, and I don't think that's something that happens. I'm a big fan of Tim Lincecum, and I know that he's been struggling over the last little bit. But at the same time, he's not a guy that needs to be in the bullpen. He's a starting pitcher, and a couple of years ago, he showed what he could do in the World Series. I think that guy's clutch, and I would say, I think he's going to bounce back from having a couple bad years in a row. And again, if you've got Buster Posey in your lineup, I think that, you've got one of the top 10 players overall in the league in terms of defensively and offensively. So Buster Posey, Tim Lincecum, I think those guys are going to lead this team, and they're not going to be the Giants of last year. So I'd expect the San Francisco Giants to win probably about 90 games this year. San Diego, same thing as last year, again 76 and 86. I can't even really think of off the top of my head anything different that happened to them except for the fact they lost Heath Bell, who's been an excellent all-star closer for them for a couple of years. So again, I can't think of really, there's no big news about what's happened to them, so I wouldn't expect anything different from them. The Arizona Diamondbacks got Mark Trumbo from the Angels, a guy that I've been following ever since he was in the Angels AAA Salt Lake City farm system for the Salt Lake City Bees, and there, and I think he was a fun guy to watch. But again, he was like a 248 batter with just a ton of power. So I liked Mark Trumbull a lot. I think he'll be a good addition to their team. If they put him at first base, probably he'll be best at designated hitter if they've got a spot for him there. I'm not 100% sure if they do or not, but that's where he would be served best in that team. And I trust that they'll be a little bit better just because Trumbo's a fun guy to watch. And so I'm going to say I'll give them, they were 500 last year, 81-81. I'm going to put them at 85 wins this year. LA Dodgers, they're going to win this division, no doubt. I think Yasiel Puig, I can't pronounce the dude's name right, but the dude from Cuba, Puig from Cuba, is a lightning rod for that team. They've got so much talent with, what's his name? Gonzalez, the first baseman that was traded from the Red Sox. Their team is very, very well put together, and I wouldn't be surprised